Hey everyone, Jagged Alliance franchise is one of my favorite gaming franchises of all times. Not just the great gameplay and the replayability, but the modding community, say that 3 times real fast, the modding community is just absolutely insane with the additional content that they can provide for us. Now, Jagged Alliance 3 is a worthy successor to Jagged Alliance 2 in every respect, in my opinion. And they've also given us modding tools that provide us the opportunity to create custom weapons, maps, items, and mercenaries. And they've allowed us to do that in a fairly pain-free way. Now, the only challenge with that I ran into, because I just finished my first custom mercenary a few days ago, and I plan on uploading him to the workshop here in the next few days for some beta testing and get some feedback on him. But I really had trouble getting the voice lines to work. So I reached out to the modding community, and those who responded couldn't help me because they were focused on UI or they were focused on items, and they didn't really have background in the voice. Okay, but I figured out how to make it work. And I thought, if I'm having trouble with this, I know there's going to be a lot of other people, because it is not user-friendly at all as far as the voice mechanics. So that's what this video is going to be about, is how to assign your custom voice lines to your custom merc. Because, let's be real. Why do we want to make a custom merc and use, voice lines from a character that's already in the game? The whole point of making a custom merc is to make them unique, right? Whether it be our lines from our favorite character in a movie, or maybe Homer Simpson, for Pete's sake, using his voice. It just creates a character with character. It makes them really unique. So today's video, we're going to show how to do that in hopefully a fairly painless manner. Now, we're going to start out with the sample custom mercenary that comes preloaded with the game. And if you don't know where she's at, I'm going to show you. And that's the wrong screen. Okay, so when you load the game, and this is the path up here where you can find it, they've got some sample mods that they've provided you so that you can look at the code and the formats to understand how to recreate your own. Okay, whether you use theirs as a template or do yours from scratch, at least you've got the template. And they provide us with an IMP merc, which is the one that you hire to begin with, which I'm assuming most of you consider to be your avatar in the game. Weapon, a whole new sector, but we're going to focus on Sabrina Drake, okay? So what I did, I copied her into the mods that I'm using in game. And I'll go ahead and close that. Here's the path for the mods that you're going to run in Jagged Alliance 3 if you download things from the workshop, or you're going to get them from Nexus Mods or wherever. Okay, so I've copied her into the mods folder. Okay, so we'll go in here, we'll click on the mod manager. You see she's loaded. Now, enabling these, checking the box to enable it enables it when you run the game. Okay, if you uncheck it, you'll still get to edit it in mod manager. All right, it just wouldn't load when the game loads. So we open the mod manager, and this shows the mods that we've got. Now, I'd already loaded Sabrina, but if I had just dumped her folder in with those other mods, she wouldn't be dark, okay, like she is now. And then I could double click on her and then she would load. Okay, so we're going to load her up. We'll double click on that. Okay, now this is assuming that you've already created your mercenary and you're trying to get your voice files to work, okay? Now, if there are those of you who don't know how to get to this point and would like a video on that, if you'll leave comments down below or comments to that effect, then I'll try to make a video that walks us through this process as well. But when you first start up a new merc, this is kind of the overview screen you're going to get. We've already established her appearance. We've already established her unit information. And in this case, this is what came with her originally, but I'm going to assume that you're going to do your voice responses before you load your sound files, okay? So we come down here and we've got all these situations, and this is the exact text of the voice file, okay? Because when the game triggers a voice file, there's a pop-up window that shows the text as well. So you want the voice text, or the text, to match the voice file. And if you have multiple selections on these voice responses, it will randomize most of them. Some of them are limited in the number of responses they have, because some of these further on down, I can't remember exactly where it was, I had like 5 responses and the last 2 had the same ID, which meant that they were going to play the same audio file, but would show different text if I had intended to have 2 different voice files. So I had to delete one of those and just take the one that I wanted to have in there the most. So okay, so we've come through and we've done all our voice responses, right? Now these are the ones that came with Sabrina originally, these responses, and I deleted her sound files, okay? So these are not going to work, okay? But we're going to do something, all of our own. Now, if you'll notice, right there, voice mod, okay? This was the name that we gave her when we created, or gave this file, when we created her voice responses. You go back over here to the unit information, and we scroll down. Somewhere, where is it? Somewhere in here, it's going to ask for her voice file. Yeah, right there. Voice response ID. That once you create her voice responses, it's going to add whatever that ID is to the master list in the game, and then it will be in this drop down, okay? So you want to use that. So we've got her set up, we've got her appearance set, we've got her voice responses in, and make note, in the unit data, the responses for the hiring lines are here. I don't know why they're not in voice responses, other than the fact that this is just where they put the hiring lines to begin with. So we've got her voice responses in, we've got her hiring lines in. Now, how do we get her audio files in? Now, the audio files that came with this sample mod were already converted to Opus, okay? So I'm not using the lines that came with her at all, okay? So we're going to go and import audio files for a project character that I'm working on the concept of, and I've downloaded some files for him. So we're going to assume that the 2 files that I'm bringing in are the ones that you wanted to use for your character, okay? So we go over here to New, we go to Assets, okay? Convert and import assets, okay? Sabrina voice files, and we're going to type import Sabrina wave files. Okay, now we could do this with our images, we could do this with particle textures, but in this case we're going to do sound, right? And notice your sound files have to be wave extension because that's all it will allow you to bring in. Now it's already providing you with a destination folder for your sounds. And I want to stop here for a minute to let you know that every time you convert and import sound, it's going to wipe out your sound folder, because it creates the sound folder when you convert and import. So if you miss a wave or you want to go back and add some voice files later on, and you think, oh, well, I'll just convert and import again, and you've already got 100 in there to begin with, and you only bring in those 2, it's going to wipe out those 100 and only bring in those 2, and you're really going to have to start over. So it's you got to be careful about that. Now, the other thing we need to be aware of is if we are doing multiple languages, okay, you're going to do a convert and import and bring in everything, okay? So if you're bringing in English and you're bringing in German like Sabrina was originally, you're bringing both sets of those audio files in at one time into sounds. And we'll get into how to break those out for the different languages, okay? All right. So this is where our sounds are going. We need to find our source folder, okay? And what I did, like I said, I'm using sounds. There we go, Sabrina test. I'm bringing in sounds for another one of my test characters. It's a male character, so it's going to be obvious when we load these in. All right, so we've pulled these in. We convert and import. Okay, see there, it does tell you that it will delete all content in the destination folder. Okay. Okay, so we've imported the file successfully. We've now got a sounds folder. And you see, I name my files exactly what they say because it's easier to find later on, particularly if you've got like the character I did before that I'm getting ready to upload had over 50 voice lines. The one that I'm working on as a concept now is probably going to have close to 150, 200. So you want to make it easy to find, and you'll understand why here shortly. Okay, so we've imported our sound files and they've gone to sound. Now we have to go and to voice translation, right? Okay. Okay, for each language that you're bringing in and you want to translate, you've got to do a translated voice for each language. So originally she was English and German, but we're only doing English for this tutorial, okay? So I'm going to put any. If we were doing this for English and German, that would be, something along the lines of Sabrina English or Sabrina Translation English, and then when we finished it, we would come back and do another one, and we would do German, because this is really a pointer for the software to tell the software where to look for your audio files, okay? So if this was the English version, I would have an English folder inside of sounds, and I would have a German folder inside of sounds. And in the English folder, I would have the English responses, and in the German folder, I would have the German responses. So for the English translation, we would have this path with, I guess that's a backslash English, and then we would do it again, and we'd have to obviously change that to German so that it knew it was German if we were doing it for Germany, and then we would do backslash German. So you'd have a translated voice line for each language, pointing or denoting that language, and then pointing to the folder where those files were. Okay? All right, so we got that. We've converted, we've translated, and we've already established our voice responses. Now, at no point to this point have we told the software how to find or what the specific wave file was for a specific response. Okay, so I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back to unit data where we talked to her on the phone. Right, this is during the hiring process. Okay, and what was that other file? Okay. So I want to change those. Now, in a situation like this with the greeting and offer, she's going to say those 2 lines. Okay? If you had 10 in there, it would play all 10 of those. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to go to voice responses and change those, at least a couple of those. Okay, so okay, save that. Okay, so we've got all our voice responses, we've got our voice files in, we've got it translated so the game understands what folder to point to when it wants to pull a voice file. Now there are a couple of ways you can do this, but this is the way I like to do this. Export translation table, okay? And you're going to have to do that if you're running multiple languages. You're going to have to export a translation table for each language. But I've only used one language, so we're only getting one translation table, okay? So there's our translation table. It comes out as a mod text CSV. And what this is, this provides us with ID numbers starting right there. That's every voice line of hers that we've put into this game. Okay? Now, you'll notice these are the ones that I put in myself. Okay, so these are the ones that we actually have voice files for, right? But what we would need to do, we would need to find every wave file that matched each one of these and add the ID number to it. Okay? So I'm going to go in sounds. Now these are my masters, right? These are the ones that I moved over. And I've got 2 copies of this one. And I've got 2 copies of this one that I'm going to need to add ID numbers to. Alright. So the first one is that one right there. I'm going to rename that as that file. Okay. Come down here and rename that one. I'm going to do the same thing with these. Okay, now again, I deleted all these other files. This is just this is just a way of showing you how to do this. If you've got a lot of lines and a lot of repetitive phrases that you're using, man, this takes a while. That one that I'm getting ready to upload, like I said, had over 100 voice responses. It probably took me, 45 minutes to do all the stupid copying and renaming. But, see, these are my master, if you will, my master wave files. Because I might want to come back in at some point and use these again in some other response. You can leave those just like they are, or you could create a folder and move them into that folder. It really doesn't matter. Just remember that if you copy back into this folder, you're going to wipe all this out and you'll have to redo this. Okay, so we got those responses in. We're going to close that. We're going to close that. Not going to save that. We're going to save here. Now, in order to test all this, we've got to get out. I'm going to get out of the game completely because I think that's what we have to do. Because it has to reload. If you don't reload, you're not going to be able to hear your voice responses. And I'll turn my sound up so that we can see how this works. But once you get your audio files in, you want to come in and test each one of them to make sure that you've linked the right audio file with the text, because sometimes you will copy and paste to the wrong stupid wave file, and then what they say verbally doesn't match the text that shows up. So when you get the voice responses in, you can come in and test by scrolling down to one of these and hitting that test button.
Hi guys.
Okay. And clearly I can tell that audio file needs to be made louder.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, same. I need to rework those audio files. So we put those in. We know those work. This is not going to work because it's gone. So what we can do now, I'll show you. We'll come back. I think she was enabled. No, I can't do that because I think I've already tested her. I don't think her audio files will play. Nope. I'd already passed that. Okay, that one's on me. Hang on. I was testing in a save file when I was making sure that I had my steps in order on this so I wouldn't be confusing you guys. And I'd already passed the initial. Once you pass the initial, if you try to hire them and you pass those initial voice files, it doesn't go back to those initial voice files when you go back to talk to them to hire them. So that's kind of that. Oh, and she would be offline. Oh, for the love of Pete. All right, try this again. See, this is the drawback when you do all this live and you don't have all this fancy editing software, or you're not a good editor. So I apologize. I do all this in one take, man, and it's hit or miss. Okay, here we go. In her unit screen, you know, there's dialogue at the bottom for when you're going to hire her. So we should, and that was two of the dialogues that we changed. So
Hi, guys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, okay. See, so now it's working. So anyway, all of that to just show you how this process works. And this was an overly simple approach because we only did 2 WAV files and we only did 1 language. But hopefully this will help you in your process. If any of you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Discord. My Discord handle is Keith1864. I'll put that in the description below. So you just reach out to me, and if you've got questions, I'm not a modding expert, but I've got one, like I said, one in beta and one that I'm working on the concept for, and I've got custom items we'll have on both of those, and the voice files are working. So anyway, hope that helped. If it did, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what problems you're having in your modding journey, and maybe I can help. Have a great day. Thanks.